Hello. I wanted to share with you a little bit different way to bind your journals. I have here what looks to be like a very chunky journal, when in fact if you open it up you'll find that it is made with three separate pockets, if you will. And then what I've done is I've taken three individual journals and can insert them one into each pocket here. So what you end up with then is something that looks like a very chunky journal, but it is in fact three individual journals, if you will. So what I'm going to do is try to show you how I made that insert of three pockets. You start with 3 sheets of 12 by 12 index card, or cardstock rather. And what you want to do is make a score line. In my case, I made it at the 1-inch mark because each of those pockets was 1 inch wide. Then I knew I wanted the width of my pocket to be 6 inches, so I scored next at the 7-inch mark. After I did that, I turned my page. Let's see here. Yes, I turned my page a quarter turn to the right, and I scored it at the 4-inch mark because I knew I wanted my height of the pocket to be 8 inches. Okay. Then I also scored at the 3-inch mark so that, again, the depth, the width of my pocket would give me 1 inch here and here. To make the 3 pockets, start with 3 sheets of 12 by 12 cardstock. For my journals, I wanted my spine of the pockets to be 1 inch. So I scored at the 1-inch mark. I knew the width of my pocket was going to be 6 inches, so I scored at the 7-inch mark. I then turned each sheet, quarter turn to the left, and knowing that the overall height of my pocket was going to be 8 inches, I scored all the way down at 8. And then at 9, again, to give me a 1-inch width spine on each individual pocket. Hope that makes sense. Okay. The only place you have to cut to form each of the 3 pockets is where I've indicated here with the red dotted lines. I hope you can see those. So when you do that for all 3 pieces of your 12 by 12 cardstock, what you're going to end up with then is something that looks like this. You should have 9 squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, okay? And these pages really here are just to give your pockets a little extra strength and structure. So what you do is you can just go ahead, I should note that when I cut this piece out here, I cut it a little bit narrower than what the score line was. That was so that when I ended up folding everything in place, it would not be quite as bulky. So, show you how I glue this. This is just my indicator to show that I'm working on my first pocket. Okay, once that's dried, I then glue these two in. I glue that little tab on the inside, and then I just fold that section up to meet the spine. And go ahead and do that gluing for the other two remaining pockets. Okay, so you end up with something that looks like this. I've already gone ahead and embellished the front of this pocket, so don't let that confuse you. Okay? Okay, so I've got my first pocket glued up, my second pocket glued up, and my third pocket. Now, what you can do is take your first pocket, and on this extra flap here, go ahead and fold that so that it goes to the back. Because what you're going to do is insert that over this half pocket right here, of pocket number 2, so it sort of sits on top of it. As you can see, what it does, it gives you a nice finished edge. Okay, so in order to do that, what you want to do is put glue all over this back panel. Again, this is pocket number 1. I'm going to insert it, my frame, over pocket number 2 and glue that in place. Be careful when you're gluing this that you have your bottoms even. Okay, so pocket 1 is pretty much secured to pocket number 2 at this point. Likewise, you're going to do the same. You're going to secure pocket number 2, this extra flap here, and insert it over pocket number 3. Okay, so we will go ahead and glue up this extra panel here. Okay, what you're left with then is the last extra piece for pocket number 3. Now you could just tuck it in this way, but I prefer that you tuck it in and glue it in on the inside, because that's going to give you a much nicer finished edge here. Plus it gives you a nice clean back panel, if you will, to embellish. Okay, so I'm going to undo that and glue that up. Tuck it in. Again, making sure my bottoms are nice and even. Okay, so there you have your 3 pockets. Okay, next, take your cover. I've not shown you how to make the cover. There's a lot of other videos out there that explain how to make something like this. Each of my pockets is 1 inch wide, so I knew I had to make my centerpiece here at least 3 inches. I ended up making this centerpiece here 3 1/8 inches wide. And while I made each of my pockets 8 inches, my actual height of my book cover here is about 8 3/4. And I did that intentionally because I felt if I ended up attaching any embellishments or dangles on the front of the spine, it would be easier to do so if I just had a lot more room here. Okay, so what you're going to do is take the 3 pockets, and you can either put glue on this part. For some reason, I guess I prefer to put the glue right on the pocket parts. I don't think it makes any difference, though. Okay, now I line mine up so that the bottom of my pockets is fairly close to the bottom of my book cover. It's not flush, but it is about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom. Okay, and try to get those centered. Find if you take a ruler or some item you can get in there, make sure that you get that glue pressed well into the book cover for a good bind. Once the glue has dried, you should end up with something like this. Three pockets to insert 3 separate journals. Hope you enjoyed this video. Have a nice day.